So the top 10 fights since 2021, that's around when I became a fan. It's 4 years, just about 4 years, so we have a lot of fights to look at. So how I'm ranking, there's a few factors that I consider. The first is like the actual fight itself. Not considering anything else, the actual fight itself. So the action, the back and forth, how entertaining is it? Does it have any lulls? So yeah, that's the first thing I'm looking at is the action. The second thing I'm looking at is kind of the moments within the fight. Are there a lot of momentum shifts? Are there a lot of big moments? The storyline, emotions, stuff like that. And then the third and last thing is relevance / importance to the sport. So I am going to weigh, championship and big anticipated fights a lot more than, an early prelim in the Apex that no one cares about. Because however good a fight is, if no one cares, it can only be so good, right? So that has to be a factor, how relevant and important is the fight. All right, so before we get into it, we do have some honorable mentions, and I'm gonna need to move my thing. All right, so 5 honorable mentions here. The first one I'll talk about is Adesanya versus Pereira 1. This definitely was a huge fight. Everyone was anticipated. Everyone was really excited for it. Jeez, what am I saying? Everyone was really excited for this fight. Adesanya had a couple of boring fights in a row, so he was kind of losing luster. And then Pereira comes in. Everyone was excited because he had just knocked out Strickland. And this fight was really good. It definitely had some lulls. There were moments in the striking where not a lot was going on. There were moments in the grappling where not a lot was going on. But it was cool to see Adesanya grapple. Even Pereira got a takedown. And with Pereira, there's always that threat, right? We always felt like we were one punch away from Pereira knocking him out. And, he was moving forward the whole time. He was throwing hooks and big jabs, with Izzy against the cage. Obviously, you had the end of the first round where Adesanya rocked him, and you thought, it's probably over. Adesanya's probably going to knock him out in the second, and then Pereira goes on to win the second, and then, everyone, it was very easy to score. It was 3-1 Adesanya going into the fifth, and then Pereira knocks him out in the beginning of the fifth. So I thought that was a good fight. Main event MSG, that's an honorable mention. Another one I'll throw in is Nate Landwehr versus I'm thinking of the Manchester United goalkeeper versus David Onama. Really, really good fight. Again, not an anticipated huge fight like a Adesanya or a Pereira, but I think this was 2022, that San Diego card. David Onama goes out there and just knocks out Nate Landwehr in the first minute, but somehow Nate Landwehr got up, and then I think Onama took the fight on short notice, and Nate Landwehr was just battering him for the second round, most of the third round. You thought he came close to finishing him 80 times, and then Onama rocks him at the end. That was a great fight. Holloway versus Yair Rodriguez, that definitely has to be on there. Not a ton of huge moments, but just a really good back and forth in the striking. A lot of strikes landed by both. I had to throw that in there. Volk versus Ortega. I feel like people overrate this fight. Most of it was just Volkanovski multiple steps ahead of Ortega, outlanding him by a lot, just kind of beating him up. The third round was great. That's why it's in here. Ortega almost submitting him 3 times with the triangle, with the guillotine. So the great moment there. So you have to throw that in there. And then I'll put in Usman Colby 2. So this is November 2021, the MSG card. The first round was a little slow. Usman drops him at the end of the second. And then Colby's comeback in the later rounds was interesting. And a lot of good back and forth, a lot of good exchanges. With Usman and Colby, they're very even on the feet. You think Colby's probably a bit better. Usman was a bit more powerful. So, and just the rivalry, the anticipation, a lot of good moments in those later rounds, back and forth with them too. All right, so let's get into it. At 10, I have Max Holloway versus Calvin Kattar. This was a great fight. Definitely one-sided, so that's a reason why it's not higher. But just so many great moments from Holloway in this fight. You think, this was after he had lost to Volkanovski. He was on a 2-fight losing streak. You think if he loses this one, he's probably done, being a top guy. And, Kattar has some hype, but, multiple 10-8 rounds. You rarely see that. The end of the 5th round where, he's dodging punches, no look, and landing punches, no look. It really was it was one of the first, UFC fights I watched live. And I just think, it was a great fight. Definitely one-sided, but, Kattar's toughness, definitely, everyone was like, damn, how is he not out? So I feel like this has to be in there. At number 10, great performance from Holloway. Really, really fun to watch. Him just, the head kicks, the punches, the elbows. Great fight. Number 9, a recent one, Dricus du Plessis versus Izzy. Definitely, when you think of importance, relevance, the anticipation, everyone was excited for this fight. The build-up was great. Definitely was controversial build-up, but I enjoyed it. And a great fight. Adesanya definitely being more offensive than he usually is. Both guys landing big punches. Looks like, in the second round, maybe Adesanya kind of has Dricus out of there, but then he gets the takedown. A really good blend of grappling and striking. Dricus lands a lot of good punches as well. His blitz somehow working really, really well against Izzy. And both guys, Izzy went to the body really well. You felt like either guy could win at any moment. And but a really good performance, a gritty performance by Dricus du Plessis, where he landed a lot, and he landed in the fourth, and he was able to take Izzy down. Maybe this is recent, and take him down and submit him. Maybe this is recency bias, but I thought this was a great fight, really. So moving on, Gane versus Tuivasa. Now, Cyril Gane had not had a lot of exciting fights up until this point, and we kind of thought this is just going to be a boring fight where Gane's going to pick it Tuivasa for 5 rounds, boring 50-45. And the first round was a little bit slow. The first round kind of looked like that. And then the second round was boring, and then Tai Tuivasa dropped Cyril Gane, and all hell broke loose. I remember, being stunned that Tuivasa dropped him, and then Tuivasa gets hurt to the body, and then it's just a mess of Tuivasa getting rocked to the head, getting rocked to the body, but somehow just firing back. And the third round was crazy. I remember that head kick that landed flush, and Tai Tuivasa looks wobbled, but then he switches right back on and throws. And I believe this was like the first card ever in France. So the crowd was great. Tuivasa being so tough, and then just throwing back, biting down on the mouthpiece, and then Gane just piecing him up. And then of course, when these two just high-fiving after all that, after Tuivasa gets hit in the belly. I don't even know how to talk, but it was a really good fight, and it was really entertaining. So yeah, this is really recent. Ribovic-Selhuber, definitely not a huge fight in terms of championships or relevance, but I remember this had a really nice backdrop atmosphere. I thought wasn't like the nice like colonial big building with like I thought this was the best backdrop there. I thought the O'Malley Merab backdrop was kind of weird, but this one was really nice, and just a really good back and forth. Right, I think from the beginning it was just really good striking battle between these two. I know Ribovic hurt him really bad in the third, and you think any moment that last punch is going to drop Selhuber, but he showed great toughness, and then he fired back. I don't think he rocked him, but he definitely fired back and landed well. So this was a really fun fight. I have to put this high up on here. Might be recency bias, but and the backdrop has something to do with it as well. Burns Chimaev definitely has to be on here. I remember this fight this card had Volkanovski, Korean Zombie, and Pyotr Sterling, but all anyone cared about was Chimaev Burns. This was when Chimaev was at like the peak of his hype, the peak of his aura, if you will. And we were all just so excited to see what would happen. And he takes him down early, doesn't go for the takedown again, and then they just start. He drops him at the end of the first. We think he's almost going to get him out of there. He's not able to, and then Burns hurts him bad at the end of the second. We're all, stunned. And then the third round, they just slug back. Chimaev and Burns, they're fan favorites. They're great fighters, but, they're grapplers first. They're not the most polished strikers, but they were just biting down and throwing. And I thought this was really just entertaining, because it was the first time Chimaev was really tested ever, and tested and extended. And just, both of them were just throwing sloppily. Burns was swinging so hard. Chimaev, he hurt him in the beginning of the third. and got the decision. And some people say Burns won. That's crazy. Chimaev easily won, but this has to be on there for sure. And no one thought it would be like a great fight. Oliveira Gaethje. So I think this is the only one round fight on here. I remember this was a great fight because you had all the drama with Oliveira missing weight and being stripped of the title, and all of that mess. And then the fight, I remember I predicted this fight. I said Oliveira was going to knock him out in like the first 5 seconds with a right hand, and he landed a big right hand early, but then I remember Gaethje dropped him, and then we're thinking, all right, it's fine. Oliveira always gets dropped. And then Oliveira gets dropped like 20 seconds later. And I thought, all right, Oliveira's going to lose. He just got dropped 10 seconds later. But then he found a way, right? And I remember just him pulling guard, him doing that big jumping front kick. And then the right hand that he landed to knock Gaethje down was such a big, satisfying right hand. I wanted Oliveira to win. And the commentary is great with DC. Like I don't know what you said, but it was a really cool moment. And then he chokes him out because it kind of seemed like everything was going against him that week. And then Gaethje, I mean, he brought it as well. He threw a lot. He threw hard. It was a good fight. It was an entertaining fight. But after that second knockdown, you kind of thought it was over. And then for Oliveira to finish him, a minute and a half later. So this has to be on there. Let's see, number 4, Gaethje Chandler. So I think Gaethje's the first fighter to be on this list twice. Just from the beginning, right? We all kind of thought it was going to be a good fight, opening up the main card in MSG. And it was a really good back and forth, right? Chandler rocked him a lot early. They were throwing in the pocket. Chandler making the dumb decisions at the end with the spinning tornado kicks. The uppercut Gaethje landed in the second round. Just a really good back and forth. Both guys landed big shots. You could end the atmosphere. Everyone knew it was going to be a good fight. Everyone was expecting it, and it delivered. It was a great fight. All right, number 3, Islam Volk. So, not the slugfest that maybe what was the last one? Gaethje Chandler was. But I remember this fight, like, I wasn't that hyped for it, but then when the fight started, like, right when it started, I got really excited for it. Because Islam had never been tested ever, right? This was right after he smoked Oliveira in 2 rounds. He had smoked everyone. And yeah, Volk was, he had dominated Holloway. He was, at his peak as well. But we all kind of thought Islam's too big. He's just going to easily take Volk down. If he submitted Oliveira, he'll be able to, easily submit and take down Volk. But little did we know Volkanovski, he's just insane at grappling defense, right? And then it was in Australia. It was the first time really Volk had gotten cheers in his career because he had always fought, Holloway in the States where he's not the favorite. But, it was a great atmosphere in Australia. First time they had been to Australia in a while. And I just remember just being surprised that, like, oh my gosh, Volk's doing good. And then it went from Volk's doing good to, oh my God, does he have a chance to win this? And Islam looked good as well. We didn't expect his striking to be that good. He still won the fight with his grappling, but his striking was, really, really better than we expected. Obviously now we know it's good. It's, high level, but we didn't know it back then. And then Volk, of course, having the best moments with his striking, but no one had any idea that his grappling would be that good. And then, landed that big punch in the first round, and then, having a couple other good blitzes and moments. And then the end of the 5th round, right, where he drops Islam, everyone was stunned by that. And, really, this is kind of when we realized, like, how good Volk is, but also how good Islam is, right? Even though we all had expectations it would be easier, but I just remember being, like, surprised, like, in the middle of the fight, being so surprised that, like, it's still going on. He's, not easily getting these takedowns because we never has saw Islam have meet resistance, right? He easily beat Oliveira. But really good fight. Number 2, Jan Sandhagen. Okay, this is interesting. This, again, maybe not a slugfest like some of the other ones on this list, but just a really, really good fight. I remember, just high level. Both guys are really good technical strikers. I just remember, Corey Sandhagen was throwing a lot of jabs, a lot of kicks early. But then, he won the first round. But you never really worried about Petr Yan. You kind of knew that he would turn the tide. This was right after the Sterling fight, so everyone was kind of, Team Yan, and just really good back and forth, good combinations from both guys. Good display of mixed martial arts. I remember, especially this is really, Sandhagen did well, but I remember this really being, kind of a showcase of Petr Yan's skills. It was a close fight, but it was a clear winner, and just you really just get to see how good of a mixed martial artist Yan is. I remember that 1-2 spinning back fist he landed, and then I remember in the end of the 5th round when Sandhagen landed like a flying knee, and then Yan, just to secure the round, had that 1-2 wheel kick. That was just so fast, and DC was going crazy, and it really was just a crazy combination. And you're just like, wow, this is just high level striking. This is what a high level UFC fight should look like. Is it are there dull moments in this fight? Or is there a crazy with emotions and stuff and moments? No. Momentum shifts? No. But just a really good just mixed martial arts fight. Maybe it's a little high. Let me know in the comments. All right, number 1, I'm sure you can all guess it. There really is no debate. It's Yuri Glover. I remember thinking, we were all kind of thinking, either Glover gets him down, submits him, or Yuri's going to knock him out. And this fight was just insane. All of the momentum shifts, in Singapore of all places, with a Brazilian guy and a guy from Czech Republic. I just remember, Glover getting so many takedowns and getting Yuri in bad positions with ground and pound and almost getting a submission. Then Yuri somehow gets out of, the deepest mount or the deepest submission, and then he starts, beating up Glover and, landing 4-piece combinations. How the heck, Glover at his old age, his durability was crazy. He got rocked, I think Glover got rocked 80 times in this fight, but he just stayed alive. And every time it looked like Yuri was one punch away from getting Glover out of there, or a few more shots of ground and pound, Glover would somehow get him down somehow, and then Glover would start beating up Yuri, and then when it looks like Glover's almost has him out of there, or the submission's about to be in, Yuri would get out, then start beating up Glover on the feet, and then we would just keep going back and forth. It happened 6 times, where it looked like the other guy was going to win, then the other guy gets out, and then it looks like he's going to win. It just was a crazy fight, and then in the 5th round, Glover rocks Yuri really bad, and then goes for the guillotine, doesn't get it, and then is on top. Then Yuri somehow gets on top and chokes him out. I mean, this fight was just crazy. I remember in the 4th round thinking, what the heck is going on? So this to me was and I remember Glover at 45 years old. It's this is crazy how he took that punishment, and it's crazy how Yuri. I mean, both of these guys, it was just crazy. Really, that's all I can say about this fight. I feel like this is easily number 1. Some of the other ones you can argue. I mean, Jan Sandhagen, should it be a little bit lower on the list? Islam Volk, I feel like, has to be there, even though there are some dull moments with the grappling. But with Volk screaming and stuff with the grappling, there were still interesting moments there. Gaethje Chandler has to be on there. Oliveira, Gaethje. I feel like this is a good list, but yeah, let me know how you guys think about this list in the comments below. Let me know what you would change, what you like, and give me your top 10 if you want. So yeah, and keep in mind, this is since 2021, so don't be yelling at me about fights that happened before then. So yeah, thank you for watching. See you.